Hey everyone, I'm McLoughlin, and we're here for another Insider Sports Access episode. Hope you guys are having a great summer. Kids out of school, definitely gotta have plenty of time to watch the show. I want to introduce Stuart, our other fabulous co-host, the real star of the show here. Cam, how you doing this week?
I'm doing great. I am feeling that summer weather, and I'm just loving it. So I'm ready to talk about sports, though.
Yeah, I'm ready
That's
to talk.
my favorite thing to do.
Same, I just got out of the pool a little while ago, then had to get down here. I guess, shoot a show. Yeah, because I could deal with that on a normal basis,
That's a good day right there.
Exactly. So we're going to get into probably one of the most prominent things in not only local sports, but international. The Women's World Cup is going on as we speak. And we just want, USA just advanced to the championship game. You want to give a little insight on that?
Well, first off, yes, I would. I love the World Cup, and the Women's World Cup has even exceeded my expectations. We had such a great tournament last year with the men, and the USA didn't really find their gear until really even the game against China, I think, in the quarterfinal. They started without Rapinoe and Holiday. They started getting more creative, and were really making a lot of scoring chances, and it was very apparent in a game. They really controlled the play against Germany, the number one team in the world. Obviously, Sajic missing the PK was huge, but I just think they've really hit a groove here in a good way, and I think it's going to be enough to win the World Cup and the big rematch against Japan.
Oh, you brought up the rematch. For you guys that don't know, 2011 in the previous World Cup, USA and Japan faced off. It was 2-2 going into extra time. Nobody scored in extra time, and Japan ended up winning 3-1 on penalties. It was a heartbreaking loss for the United States as they were coming in as one of the favorites, and now they get another chance to go against Japan. And I think this year, like you said, they get over the hump and they get that third star.
Yeah, I think they're really starting to flex their muscle, and they are obviously playing for Abby Wambach, who I think is going to have a big game, go out in style, and I think that'll put them over the top. Just sheer will. I mean, they're the best team in the world right now, and I think the sheer will is going to do it.
Yeah, I think, like you said, I think it will be a hell of a game. Let's talk about how Japan got to where they are now. Now, it didn't look like Japan necessarily was going to get into the championship game. Played kind of sloppy against a kind of a surprise England team this year. And, then everything went downhill in the final minutes.
All right, I don't like basing things off luck in sports, but that was kind of lucky. I mean, an own goal in stoppage time in a game, as you said, England really controlled. You hate to see it, but I'm shocked Japan is here. I mean, they've been playing really sloppy, sort of like the U.S. was in latter half of the group stage, but they've been doing it in the knockout rounds. I mean, the game against the Netherlands was really sloppy against a team who had never been there, and they barely won. They won 2-1, and I just think, going with a theme that I didn't think they would be here, especially looking in the quarterfinals and the round of 16 with how sloppy they were playing. But they're here, so I guess anything can happen now, right?
Yeah, like you said, anything can happen. I do think that, Abby Wambach, Rapinoe, and I think even with Press coming off the bench, you got a lot of the, some of the younger stars, and you got Hope Solo and that, who really showed that she can, step up in the big stages where she really never, against Germany, was like her first time that she really had to step up to that sort of level. Throughout the tournament, she never really had a challenge, and Germany presented a challenge, and she stepped up and delivered.
Yeah, because we're used to her stepping up with all the PKs and whatnot they had in 2011, and how big she stepped up, obviously, until the final game. But I think Kristen Press has been phenomenal off the bench for the U.S. I mean, she's just coming in and making things happen, and I think she's been one of their best players, definitely their best reserve so far.
And she came in when camp started in early spring. She was thought of being maybe one of the starters or one of the normal rotators. Has kind of stepped back and been on the bench a little bit more this year than she would have thought coming into the tournament, but has definitely been a spark that they've needed and has been able to be, integral part of this team.
Yeah, she was a big question mark through the whole World Cup campaign with Jill Ellis. But, I mean, I give her credit. While she did take a step back, as you said, she has taken a step forward in a sense that she has been not a great starter, but has been their best player off the bench and has really made a difference in this World Cup.
I think if USA can get on the board early in the championship, they will win. I feel like that it needs to be up, and their defense has been amazing, so if it can keep that up, be the brick wall it has been for the most part, I think we'll be getting a third star, and, I think definitely in Boston, City Hall Plaza will be going crazy.
Like it has been. It has been. All I got to say for the final last thing is I think one's enough for the U.S. I think one goal is going to be enough, whether it's obviously if it is the first, since it's the only one. But I think one's enough, as you said, as well as their defense has been playing and as poorly as Japan's offense has been playing.
Well, we'll just have to find out. We can talk all we want, but everything can change in a matter of seconds, as we saw. So
Settle it on the pitch.
Staying within women's soccer, moving over, we had two local players playing second time against each other this year. The Mewis sisters, Sam and Christy, played each other this time in Boston. The Western New York Flash and Sam Mewis ended up defeating Christy Mewis's Boston Breakers 2-0. Breakers now fall to 5th place in the NWSL, while Western New York moves up to 8th. So both of those teams are trying to fight for a playoff spot. I think that the Breakers have taken a step back, only losing 2 players to the World Cup break and losing their last 2 games against Western New York and against FC Kansas City. Feel like they need to regroup, come back, and then they can make a run to be the 4th team in the playoffs. Another thing for the NWSL, they just signed a post-World Cup national TV deal with Fox Sports. So they'll have 10 games streaming live. All of them will be either in Portland or in Houston. The only team that actually did not get in a game is Western New York, which they are, club executives were pretty upset about.
And I mean, the TV deal for them is humongous. The MLS only got one recently in the past few years, and every once in a blue moon you'd see an NWSL game on ESPN2. That's like every once in a while, but having this is huge. We've seen it with Major League Lacrosse and even the NHL getting big-time deals. The Premier League got one with NBC Sports this past year. That's just going to be huge and growing the game. And I mean, if you are enjoying the World Cup, it's not too much different. I mean, that's still some of the best players in the world playing as the Breakers call it, Boston's best kept sports secret. It's soccer. And I don't think people understand that it is the highest level of soccer in the women's sport.
Yeah, you got players. They just signed Kaya Simone from an international player who played for the Breakers beforehand, coming back after a pretty successful individual World Cup for herself. So I feel like they have the pieces where they can not only for this year, but is in a league not only this year, build off the World Cup, but in the future years. The only thing I had about the TV deal that I wasn't too keen on is they left out Western New York, and all the games are going to be at 2 locations. I understand why, because they play in professional venues. They play in professional venues. Great for already set up for TV, but I would have thought Western New York actually would have got a home game of anything, because if anything, they have the 3rd best home stadium. The only thing is they can't really get it filled enough to look good on TV, so I could see that. So it's 6 games on 6 or 7 games. I forget the actual number that will be on Fox Sports. Some of them, they also have 4 games streaming on the app, and the championship and semifinals will, regardless of where they are played, will also be on Fox Sports. So if Boston can somehow make it, we'll see that Fox Sports will be coming to Soldier Field Stadium. Don't think that's going to happen, but
Can't count them out. Can't count them
Can't
out.
count them out. They could still make it, but I don't think they'll get the home game. So What do you want to talk about next? We got so much to talk about and so little time.
Well, one of our favorite guys, Boston University Hobie Baker winner, Jack Eichel, just signed his new deal with the Buffalo Sabres. Number 2 overall pick was upsetting us a little bit because we wanted to see him back at BU. But, I mean, Brian, how do you turn that down?
See, I don't think you turn at your level being NHL ready at even going into last year, going into his year at BU, feel like he was NHL ready at the most part. I don't think he could have turned it down. It would have been amazing to see him back at BU. I was hoping that he'd go back to BU. But I think he's going to do great at Buffalo. I know he wasn't too keen on it in the first place, but I think he'll grow to like it. And I think what the Sabres are doing as an organization right now is making it a little bit more intriguing. And I hope everything works out for him.
And I mean, as you know, a kid growing up in North Chelmsford, a Bruins fan, probably grew up like us, hating the Sabres. But
yeah.
I mean, I don't personally know Jack, but I think, as you said, going into this year, he was NHL ready. I mean, all you hear, he's on the cover of the magazines, he's on all the photo shoots, he's the next big thing in American hockey. It's just, if you can play in the pros right now, why not? And I think I was not surprised. I probably would have been more surprised if he came back. But, we'll support Jack Eichel 100%, even though he's wearing the Sabres jersey.
I have already said that regardless of whatever team he was picked in the NHL, that I'm not going to get a jersey, but I'm going to get the player T-shirt. Definitely, that's definitely going to be a go. I don't even care. I'll wear it to a Bruins game. I might tape over the Sabres logo on the front, but I'll have it and maybe put a BU or whatever, but I'll wear an Eichel shirt because I'm a huge Eichel fan. You are too.
You can't hate him. You just can't hate him.
So, as a player, he's only 18 years old. Coming into his year at BU, he was 17. When I interviewed him, actually, I was older than him by like 2 months, and it was funny. He was like, "Wow, you're older than me, but I'm in high school. I mean, I'm in college, and you're in high school. So who really wins here?" Of course, Jack Eichel always wins, no matter what. But can't forget, he's only 18 years old. He's not like some of these other guys that are first round picks and are going to be going to college for a few years or still have juniors ahead of them. Or, yeah, they might be NHL ready, but they're like 21 to 22 years old. He's only 18, and he's still a kid in some ways, which is going to be see how that plays out at the biggest stage in hockey.
And I mean, sort of touching on that, the lifestyle is going to be so much different. I mean, traveling like all the time. I mean, even a guy who played at BU, think of his travel. In Hockey East, the furthest he's got to travel is Burlington, Orono, and Burlington. And I mean, they did go out to Wisconsin, but even in the regionals, Manchester, and then Boston for the Frozen Four. He's probably done some travel before for tournaments and whatnot, but I mean, this is a whole new ball game. He's now got the money. He can live fast. He's 18, so I mean, I think it should be a tough adjustment for him, but everything he's handled, as we've seen in the spotlight, has been with class and dignity. So I think he can adjust eventually.
Yeah.
But
I don't think we're going to go through the Johnny Manziel stage, though. I think he'll party and he'll get himself in a little mischief, per se, but I don't see him having to go to rehab and all that. But
he's not Johnny Manziel.
He's not Johnny Manziel at all. But you're not going to go through that whole, we got to, I'm going to party, and he's not going to be like Gronk either. So.
And I think the humbling of college hockey does that for him. I mean, Johnny Manziel, Texas A&M, big football school, SEC. I mean, he was having everything handed to him on a silver platter by the time he became QB1 of the A&M Aggies. But I think definitely he's not going to be Johnny Manziel. No. I think he's handled everything with class, and I think he'll definitely handle himself on the ice better than Manziel has. So.
Well, the Sabres did a pretty good job picking, but let's talk about our Bruins. We're both not too happy with this. The Bruins, they did have 3 first-round picks, but they had to pick 13th, 14th, 15th in a row, which they did not want to do coming into the day. They made a lot of trades, a lot of signings, but are they a better team than they were before the draft?
No. Simple answer, no. I've heard 3 words that go with each one of these 3 first-round draft picks, and it's not this year. They can come up, but they're not going to make an impact right away. They're not going to be a Sagan or a Kessel, obviously. But the Bruins have had some really shoddy decision-making the past month or so. And you know what? I don't know too much about the NHL draft. Maybe this pays dividends, but I don't think it will right away, which the Bruins weren't far off from a playoff spot last year. I think if they had 1 or 2 more pieces, they would be a 6 or a 5 seed this year if everything plays out right. But management's been a little iffy for me recently.
Yeah, and how much of this do you have to fall back not on Don Sweeney but on Cam Neely? Because I feel like he's in the room, he's helping making these decisions. Nothing against Neely at all, but I think he needs to get some of the blame for some of these decisions because he does have a say in the room and he has that presence.
I love Cam Neely, but I agree with you 100%. Everything that goes wrong with this team going forward can fall on the shoulders of Cam Neely. Neely has been saying that he doesn't want as much of a scrappy team per se. He wants a more skilled and a faster team, and yet he hires his buddy who he played with as the new GM, a guy, as we know, a tough guy who used to always get in the greasy, grimy areas. So you got to wonder what his say is on it. And, he trades away Lucic. Okay, that's been rumored for a couple years. That sort of fits Neely's mold to get rid of him. But then you trade away Dougie Hamilton, who was a slick puck-carrying, two-way defender, great on the power play, a guy, that sort of two-way defenseman that you see every great Bruins team built around, and all of a sudden he's gone too. And now you're sort of like, all right, what direction is this team going in? Because I don't think it really has an identity right now.
I think if anything, when you say you don't have an identity, it looked like they were going to a rebuilding stage. That was before the draft. But then there was also rumors that they were going to trade up those 3 picks to get Hanifin. That didn't pan out. So they take the picks, and then you go through the weekend that they're going to be going as a rebuilding team. You get to Wednesday, this past Wednesday, and then you hear that they trade Riley Smith for Jimmy Hayes. Now, I like that trade, and I know we're not too keen on BC, but he's a BC guy. He's a local Dorchester native, so I can dig it. I think he'll be a good player. I wasn't that keen on Riley Smith. Nothing personal. I think he'll be a good hockey player, but not I don't think he'll fit in the Bruins system. But cut you off. So
I wasn't too big on Riley Smith either. I think it's more of a lateral move. I don't think Smith was going to score like he did in the first half of the season again. I think Hayes is almost the same guy for less money, and I think the Bruins really need to save all they can on the cap right now. So I like that move. I really do.
And it doesn't hurt. I've always been a fan of teams picking players, like good players, acquiring, trading, whatever it may be for players in their area. Always been a fan of that. So him being a Massachusetts native, that won me over. It's right there. It's more of a personal thing, I think. But I always feel that because if you're a player that's growing up and watching and a fan of a team, it's always going to be their dream to play, and you're always going to I feel you're going to get something better out of them than necessarily of another team. I feel Jimmy Hayes putting on the spokes B is going to incite him to do better, inspire him to maybe do another lap in practice, take a few more shots. I've always had that feeling, and I've seen it work out and sometimes. And we've seen players playing in their local areas be detrimental. So it varies, but I think this trade for Jimmy Hayes as a player at his stage of his career, and from what I've heard from him, I think that's what we're going to get out of him.
And sticking with BC, I didn't really understand the move the Bruins were rumored to get the number 3 pick because Hanifin's going to be a good player. Don't get me wrong. But if Hanifin reaches his potential, you know what he is? He's Dougie Hamilton. So you're essentially trading for a guy. You're trading this was the rumor. You would have been trading Dougie Hamilton for a guy who could be Dougie Hamilton. So I never really understood that. But again, I like Hayes. I think he's going to do well with this team. I think he can fit most molds that they've been rumored to be doing now. And I think that was a very good move to take the cap hit with Smith, or take it off the cap hit.
Yeah. The only thing is, you hear that was attached to that was the Marc Savard contract. As we all know, Marc Savard hasn't played it, but I'll always think of him as a Bruin. I think he'll think of himself as a Bruin. I think the Bruins will think of him as a Bruin because it's just the money on this point because he's not ever playing an NHL game again.
And it's too bad that he's not coming back, but that was huge to get rid of that contract. I mean, that was like the Josh Beckett, Adrian Gonzalez, Carl Crawford deal a couple years ago with the Red Sox. But, yeah, Savard, you could tell Savard wasn't happy to leave, but he knew what had to be done. And he was tweeting out things, always a Bruin. He was sad to see Lucic and Hamilton go. But at this point, that was sort of on the back burner. We hadn't heard about Savard's contract for a while, but that was huge to get rid of it, especially with all their cap troubles the past couple of years.
Yeah. He hasn't changed his Twitter, Facebook, anything. He still says a player in the Boston Bruins organization, so I don't think he's going to change that. I feel like they can own his contract, but you'll probably see Marc Savard at a Bruins game this year in a Bruins jersey because
doing his foundation still. He's going to keep his roots here, definitely.
Again, it's a shame. Every time I hear Marc Savard, it's a shame that he'll never play again because he was one hell of a hockey player.
Explosive. Could really pound a puck, couldn't he? Jeez.
Yeah. So I think it's enough hockey from now because I'm trying not to freak out right now because I've been all kinds of emotions this past week. I've been excited to watch this NHL draft to not excited after when we got past the first 3 picks to angry to upset. I've gone through all stages of grief because I don't know what's going to happen.
It's been tumultuous, definitely. The 2 drafts, both with the Celtics too. I mean, up and down, and no one knows what's going on, and 2 not very impressive drafts, I have to say.
Yeah, see, I was going to transition to the Celtics, so thank you for that.
One step ahead of you.
Yeah, I feel like it wasn't an awful draft for the Celtics. I feel if anything, it could maybe help them coast this year. I like the signings that they made over the past week. You want to give a little insight on that?
Well, when I looked at it at the draft, first off, I thought it was almost catatonic. And when I saw it, I said, the Celtics, they have to be cooking up a deal. They have to be. And they have to trade half their draft. Because Danny said before the draft, Danny Ainge said, they're not bringing in 4 guys. So they may be holding up the jersey and wearing the hat right now, but whether it's this big splash for DeMarcus Cousins or whatever it may be, I think they've got a deal working. And I was really upset they didn't trade up, mostly because Ainge kept saying he was, and he wanted a big man, and they knew there was not going to be any good big men after 15 outside of the lottery. So, there was that big rumor to get Okafor at 3. And when the Lakers picked Russell, I was jumping out of my seat because I thought everything's lined up. We're going to get Okafor. We got a centerpiece of a franchise. And it was really disheartening, although I don't rule it out completely yet. Okafor or Noel or one of those guys, I think the Celtics are still going to make a big splash in the next few weeks.
I agree with that. But I also think that they're going to have the way that the contracts have worked with the 2 players that they signed. I can't remember the names for the life of me, which is really bad for TV. But looking at both of their contracts, it's only for this season. Mm-hmm. It was a 2-year contract, but next year they have enough space that they can bring in 2 franchise max contract players. And I feel that if everything works out and they can coast this year and then you make a run next year, that'd be to get a Kevin Love type player, get a Dwight Howard type, get somebody. I think that'd be.
And you heard all these rumors of guys that could come in, and you heard Kevin Love and DeMarcus Cousins and Robin Lopez, even Paul Pierce was rumored. Obviously, he just signed. But I think they're one franchise player away. I mean, they're one big player away from becoming not only a playoff team again, but a contender. I think a home court playoff team. And, the big deal that was rumored to Charlotte draft day, 6 draft picks for the number 9 overall, which the Celtics would have picked Justice Winslow from my Duke Blue Devils, who's going to be a star in the NBA, could be the next James Harden. And instead they picked Frank Kaminsky, who is a big risk coming in because you don't know what you're going to get in the NBA level from Frank Kaminsky. So I think Charlotte was absolutely moronic for not taking that. But again, there's something in the works here. We just don't know yet.
I'm all for getting Nerlens Noel, another local guy, from Everett.
Rim protector, which they've been looking for. Good defender. I think he fits.
Yeah. If they get Noel, I'll be ecstatic. Ecstatic.
I think that's what they want at this point. A guy like Noel, whether it's Noel or not. Maybe it's Cousins. Who knows?
Yeah. So we got a short amount of time left, but can't forget. We're trying to get everything in here, even the breakers, and we got the Cannons up now. They had a 14-11 win over the Chesapeake Bayhawks this past weekend. That moved them into second place with a 6-4 record. At one point this year, they were in sixth place, looking on the outside, turned it around. They got Will Manny at the helm over there. You got Scott Ratliff. They've got Kevin Buchanan. They got players over there that are big name stars. And this is all after the Rabel trade, which was probably one of the biggest moves, the biggest move, I should say, in Major League Lacrosse history.
I just think the Cannons have been doing everything right this year, and they're on a roll. And Buchanan in the midfield has been doing so much for them. Manny has stepped up big time. Ratliff opens up a whole new game for them. I think we're going to see championship weekend lacrosse back in Boston for the first time in a while. 3 years. It's good to see them winning again. And I don't see them going downhill anytime soon.
Yeah, I definitely think that they can make it the championship weekend. Their final home game is July 11th. I think that will be at Gillette Stadium this year. I think that's going to be a big game, a pivotal game. If they can continue with playing Denver in the annual 4th of July game, getting a win there, getting on a roll. Then come August, you're going to see a championship fever, playoff fever, and it would be awesome to have another parade because last time in 2011 got really overshadowed by still the Bruins winning the cup and nobody really cared. And I feel like lacrosse has just grown so much and since just the last year, not even that. But we are running out of time. And I'm sorry to cut you off, but we only got just over a minute left. So quick 15-second story if you want to.
All right, my last quick shout-out, stealing Brian's mojo a little bit. NWSL, I'm giving you a shout-out, especially the Boston Breakers. They have been gracious hosts for the watch parties for the World Cup in City Hall Plaza. Great people, great action. They still have a couple home games left, so I encourage you to go. It's at Soldiers Field at Harvard, and it's just a great time, great soccer.
Yeah, that was what I was gonna give them a nice shout out. Those viewing parties have been amazing. They kind of have given Boston a platform to get together and watch the games on the nice big screen. So it's been fun. This show has been fun. We appreciate you guys for watching us for another half hour. We'll be seeing you soon, so check us out on InsiderSportsAccess.net. Check us out on Twitter, Facebook. Check Cam and I out on Twitter. We'll be happy to add you on Snapchat. We're getting Insider Sports Access Snapchat, actually, so definitely check that out. We'll have a lot of good content, and we hope that you have a great summer, and we'll be talking to you in a week or two. So, see you later.